So today's panel is called Like, Comment, Retweet Why Decentralized Social Media is More. So I just sort of want us to open up the room a little bit and get a sense of what is decentralized social media. We have Chris Castiglione from Console, we have Ray Youssef from CivKit, and Zach Sudo from Trust Machines. So guys, feel free to just jump right in. Tell me, what is decentralized social media? I think a lot of folks who maybe aren't in crypto or are not super familiar with the technical side might have questions about what exactly that means.
Sure, I'll go first. To me, decentralized social media is just a big shift from the past decade or two. We have been using Facebook, Instagram, the same company, um, Twitter, all these, centralized systems. And, we rely on them for our data storage. We rely on them for the identity, our name, right? And in a way, we don't really own those. We just rent them from these companies. And because of that, we can be shadow banned. There can be censorship in between two people trying to communicate. And so decentralized social media is bringing that data back to the user, bringing identity to the user, so that we own our own like identity online and can communicate ideally without any third party in between us. So I would describe it. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good take, right? So like what we do, even right now we're having this session online, right? I mean, this is all we do now. We're just, faces and maybe some pseudonyms in digital life. So all our communications, all our like trades, all our economic activity, everything is online. And we sort of define ourselves as just sort of single names at something. Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a username, something. And the fact that certain companies can just lock us out of these is crazy, right? So people shoot, they record hours and hours of YouTube video, and if somebody doesn't like something you say, all of a sudden all of it is gone. And that's just not right. So it's basically just like, because we're sort of Bitcoiners, I always think about how we sort of took money back from, we're trying to take at least money back, and now we need to take sort of our identity and our digital life back and into our own hands. That's how I look at it, like more, I don't know, maybe in a more generic sense, but yeah.
I'd love to talk about how some crypto companies have tried to do sort of crypto social media in the past. And I'd love to get your perspectives on it. I mean, Coinbase NFT is like one of the biggest examples that comes to mind for me. And it seems to have largely failed. Initially, it was kind of this like social, it was built as like a social NFT marketplace where you could comment below each NFT and like it and sort of engage in that kind of way. But it really didn't seem to gain any traction. And it's only seen 3,600 Ethereum in all-time total volume traded, where with just like zero point 0.1 ETH in the past 24 hours. So like, why do you guys think that this kind of a model did not catch on with crypto users?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think maybe there's just like people sometimes don't want to trust exchanges. There's already kind of like a narrative, I think, of you want to own your own keys to really kind of own your crypto, right? Is what we talk about. Not your keys, not your crypto. I think the same extends to any other asset online, right? Like not your keys, also not your identity, which is something I'm really passionate about with decentralized social. And so, yeah, I don't know. It may just be like part of the narrative of just like wanting to make sure that you own that and not so much trusting, just recreating. I mean, Coinbase could just become the new Facebook, right? I guess from a narrative standpoint of them just being centralized. So.
And Ray, I know you're working on CivKit, which is a Bitcoin P2P trading platform. Can you tell me a bit about why CivKit is important for Bitcoin and why you chose Bitcoin as your network of choice?
Absolutely, Kate. So the first version of Bitcoin had marketplace functions in it, written by Satoshi Nakamoto himself. They were removed later because they were cluttering things up, and marketplaces are hard to build. They take a lot of time. I've been doing it for the past 8 years. Peer-to-peer marketplaces like Paxful, which has its own issues, it was stopped, right? Were actually extremely important. Local Bitcoins also stopped. Now it's only Binance peer-to-peer and another site, place called No One's. More are coming, but these things tend to go down fast. And why is that? It's because people are afraid of them. The bad kind of people are afraid of what happens when humanity gets a global free marketplace. That is scary to them because the truth is what we're doing right now as a team, and by this team, I mean us Bitcoiners, we are putting the finishing touches on this peer-to-peer revolution that began with the invention of the internet. It mainstream in like 1996, right? Then we got all these fancy mobile devices, right, that Nikola Tesla only dreamed of. And then we got peer-to-peer electronic cash. It's called Bitcoin. Awesome, right? We have all the tools necessary to put the finishing touches on this peer-to-peer revolution and turn us into a type 1 civilization, but we're missing one thing, and that's the ability for us to be able to trade between each other, right? People talk about Bitcoin replacing the US dollar. Let's focus on the US Treasury system first. What happens when a country gets cut off SWIFT? Even if it doesn't, hey, all of Africa has SWIFT. That's how they send money between each other, and it's absolutely broken. There's 2,000 payment networks in Africa. Less than 3% of them actually talk to each other. So the big secret that I've learned from the past 8 years is people in the global South, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, Latin America, etc. It's not that there's no money there. They have money, plenty of money. It's just that they can't use it. I even gave this entity a name. I call it financial apartheid because that's how it is. It take me a while to give you some examples, but believe me, it's real. So PAX will prove two very important things. It proved that one, Bitcoin can be useful for real use cases in the global South where people need it most, payments, remittances, etc. And it got the first Bitcoins into those hard to reach areas in the global South, like Nigeria, Ghana, etc. These are places, Egypt, where I was born, that are tremendously hard to get money out of, right? But Bitcoin, we got in there with a hack. And now Nigeria specifically is actually leading Bitcoin adoption worldwide. So there is tremendous need for this, tremendous need for an unstoppable free marketplace where anyone can trade anyone with anything. And CivKit is a open source for life, decentralized protocol built around Bitcoin. It doesn't earn any money itself. The project is pure. It's a very small team for gun-ho cowboys trying to save the world. We're keeping their heads down and working. And I welcome any and all help. If you want to talk to me, I'm Vitalik of Bitcoin. Just a little heavier with funny hair. Yeah.
So as we look to sort of build these different Bitcoin layers and different Bitcoin applications and ways that Bitcoin can be used actively, I saw a tweet last night where a Bitcoiner asked the question like, hey, we're in America, we have Venmo, but we also have things like Strike. So why aren't we paying for dinners in crypto if we're all Bitcoin and crypto owners?
It's a good question, right? I guess we always we don't think about when that music stops, but it does, and like especially like people that get cut off from financial system. I mean, like Ray talked about, like there are millions and maybe billions of people cut off from these systems. And yes, you're right. You can just sort of we can put everything in a centralized DB and then, be done with this whole thing, right? We don't need to worry about anything. But at some point, when you get cut off from the system, you realize that it was actually important when it matters to build these things and have these things functional and have them unstoppable and have them sort of all these censorship prone issues taken care of when we have the opportunity, because once that's gone, that's already too late, right? So I think that's the fight that we're doing right now, and that's why decentralized social media is important and decentralized marketplaces are important, and not just because like the example that you were giving earlier. I mean, we shouldn't be trying to make things decentralized just because it sounds cool, but like when it matters actually, and money and trading and just human beings exchanging value for something is important, and we need to find ways to preserve that and to have that available to us when it matters, because once you get cut off, it's already too late, right?
Yeah, when it comes to social media, I kind of wonder as well, and I think a lot of folks might also wonder this, like once the genie's out of the bottle when it comes to user data, what is the benefit of then moving towards something decentralized? Like I think some people would probably say like, oh, like all my data is already out there, like Facebook already has all my data, like what is the benefit of moving towards a decentralized platform? Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I think I can add a little bit of value here. So I don't have much experience with social media except in 2004. I started a social networking site with MySpace and Facebook. We were the first ones to do virtual gifts, which Instagram is kind of figured out right now. And I'd love to do all that again. But the one thing I can't talk to you about is success, meaning as a product, right? As business people, you're building something for an audience, and that's the main question. Who are we building all this decentralized stuff for, right? So Zach, all of us here on this call, I imagine you two as well, Kate, are nerds. We love Bitcoin, right? We're libertarians. We know the value of this. We'd be the first users, which is great, but there's not that many of us, and that's why we feel lonely. And we're not paying for everything in crypto. I don't know, maybe there's a little peer pressure. I don't know. So besides that audience, who else are we out there to help is the question, right? So as a business person, I want to look at people that have a problem with this right now. So let's look at all the content producers out there that have been, basically shortchanged by YouTube. They're all looking to leave. They're all jumping on any platform that they can if it works, and they're able to get some monetary compensation for it without their accounts being shut down, as he said the long thing in a very politically charged environment. These are people that I know would jump on anything, but it has to be user friendly. It has to make sense, right? And I'm sure we can actually conquer all of that. Nostr is a great example of this. I'd like to bring back my old social network problem, but there's something even bigger, and it's a lot bigger. And only people that have actually fallen down the rabbit hole and attempted to actually speak truth to power and felt the sting of that know how important it is. Once we have an alternative out there, whether it's for money or communications, it's basically the same thing. Communications is just money, just communications of value, right? Once we have that, we know what happens. Humans start to get a whole lot braver. The folks on this call and the people listening to this are pretty brave people here in Bitcoin land. We like speaking truth to power. We're awake. But when we give someone the security of not being of the service being unstoppable, it can't be taken away, and also pseudonymity, people don't know who they are. It's protected by this framework. You're going to see a lot more people speaking out, a lot more truth, and there's going to be a lot more background noise to fight all of this background chatter that is artificially created by all of these bad guys and their farms. And that's a huge problem. It's a massive problem, especially on the issues that count. Remember when COVID first took off? What created that fear? All this background chatter, right? Once we have something that makes people a little bit braver, it's going to fatten our numbers. It's going to give us a lot more protection. And I see that as very important because we're living in a time and we all feel it with this mask of democracy, right, is falling. They're just dropping it because they're so fucking vain, these cabals of these small casts of men that rule the world. And they're showing us this hideous face, a full in your face authoritarianism, and telling us, hey, it's beautiful, worship this. Fuck no, we're not going to do that. So we kind of have to do this, right?
So right now, the social media space kind of lives in this sort of big tech state of big tech dominance, right? Like we have Meta, we have Twitter, these big companies, arguably Google in some ways, because there are sort of like ways to share documents on Google in a sort of social capacity. Do you think that like we could ever live in a world without Twitter and Threads, and what might that look like, and like what would have to change in order for a world like that to exist?
Yeah, I think we already have almost all the components to do that today. I always feel like we're always people are undermining themselves in Bitcoin. That it's that, oh, we have to do so much work. But I feel like with Nostr, for example, literally today, if Twitter and Threads and whatever other very popular social media just started using Nostr relays and started posting their content into Nostr and plugged into the same protocol. I would say maybe 95% of everything would work just like it does today, except you can take your data and move to a competitor with no hassle at all. So yeah, I really don't think we need a lot of building. It's just a matter of sort of perception and getting the UX there and getting the people there and getting the mindset there. But I guess like Ray was saying, having the need in the first place, And after that, I think it's just smooth riding, because I don't see any improvements that decentralized sort of with one click they can shut you off, or they can just sell all your data, right? So I don't think we're actually missing anything on that part. But I don't know, maybe Chris.
Yeah, I think Nostra shows a lot of promise. I think my experience using it right now is like I think it's generally pretty good there, and there's still like a list of things I think that probably over the next year or two we still need, like spam protection, better way to integrate with like iPhone, because like Damus just got kicked out of the App Store. Like there's definitely like things that make friction for everyday users, but I think Zach's right. Like the technology is almost there, but I think Kate's question is like what I took from it, which I think is challenging for any kind of shift, is just people are ingrained in habits of using these apps, and so I feel like cultural shifts are really difficult. You could have a better, version, but I think for that, it really takes either a app, like at the client level, like the app you have, doing something new that people say there's extra value. Like that is like not just the same, but like better on the back end, but some extra value. Like for example, with Nostra, you can send like little bits of lightning payments really easily. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's not. But I think there'll be experiments over the next year, two, three. And I think we'll really either need to have some shift in like some big event, like the government comes in and shuts down Facebook or something, like at a cultural level, or technically where there's some big value that like leapfrogs so that we really want to change our habits. But habits are hard to change.
Yeah, Chris, I would love to also get your perspective on Discord. It's something I've used as a gamer since like probably 2016, I think. And Discord has become a huge central spot for a lot of crypto folks and crypto projects in addition to Telegram. But Discord seems to have a lot of issues. And like it's really hard to tell what's real and what's fake there. And like I've sent, support requests into Discord, and it's just like throwing a report, a scam or spam report into like a black hole. Like, what are your thoughts on Discord, and is console like a response to Discord?
Yeah. I mean, Discord's a mess, I think, from a user experience. It's just very noisy. There's a lot of spam, and it's hard to find like truth within it, if people are real or if the messages are what you want to find. Like it's just kind of things get buried. And so, yeah, we built Console as a response, really. It's Console's like Web3, just basically working towards decentralization, transparency with open source, and users owning their own identity. And so that's where we're working towards on a scale. And yeah, I think there's a big opportunity to just create something where like the users like there's so many cool things we can do with these assets of like using our web wallet, sending Bitcoin, having NFTs, like all of these things like map to identity, to sovereign transfer of value, like things that we all really are rallying around. So it really doesn't make sense to kind of go build on this Web2 platform that doesn't let us use any of that. And so, yeah, that's what I see with what we're building with Console. And I think, what Ray and what Zach are, a lot of their work they're doing, building with ZipKit or Nostra. I think it's just this move to like really shift away from, I mean, Discord's just this kind of black box, like you said, and I think we see a lot of the dangers with that. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of scams and spam like all day on Discord. So yeah, I think that's why we're all here, to do something better about that.
Yeah. Does anyone have any closing thoughts they'd like to add about where they think social media is maybe going in the next year or so?
I would just encourage anyone listening to get in and just like try and play and support things. I mean, I think if Nostra's like a little bit like doesn't work or it takes an extra step, I think do that. I think we all have to like support and like use this stuff. And with Console, I mean, we welcome new communities. Like, come reach out. We'd love to have you. And I think Zach and Ray are one person.
Absolutely. Same thing. Scratch your own itch. If you're a developer, just jump in, fix something for yourself. You fix it for the rest of us. And if you're a creator, do something with it, right? This is basically just us against the world, right? So let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much
Yeah.
for jumping on this panel
Hold
today.
on. Kate, I want to say something. Kate.
Yeah, go for it.
To echo what everyone said, I think we're entering a very special time. And if you're an entrepreneur, you should be very excited about this because with Bitcoin, with the advent of peer-to-peer electronic cash being everywhere, and Damas is taking a shot at it, now we're going to have these unstoppable platforms that you can build on, and you can build a lot of cool stuff and make money off it from the bat. I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years. The problem has always been billing whenever you get to anything. That's not a problem for us anymore. If you can create your own little, I hate to use the word metaverse, but it's basically a game world, right? You can bake in so much to it. It's not just chat anymore. Chat and trading marketplaces are all the same thing right now. If you look at Telegram, they've added a peer-to-peer marketplace to Telegram and a crypto wallet. Why? Because they look at all these huge chat rooms in Telegram where people are trading OTC like crazy, and there is money to be made. So if you can get something right, it doesn't matter what the application is for. It could be dating for gay men. It could be a little shop for, a particular kind of good in Guinea. It could be anything. It could be a DEX built on Bitcoin. It could be another peer-to-peer platform focused on commodities in Southeast Asia. It can be anything, but you can monetize it right away and no one can stop you. And all that money that you're going to collect as Bitcoin, you can cash it out right away for real money that you can spend. All the big problems have been solved. And now you're getting this beautiful canvas where you can paint your next creation on. So I think we're going to see an explosion of amazing products coming soon. The Lightning ecosystem has been blowing up greatly recently. It's just difficult to use. But when we get all these brilliant developers on here, like Chris, Zach, by the way, I want to try out Council. It looks amazing. Once we got a team like this building on unstoppable platforms built around Bitcoin, sky's the limit, guys. Type 1 civilization. Finally. Could happen soon. My man Justin, bro, you got some intense eyebrows, bro. I'm looking at you right now, man. You are an intense looking dude, bro. You caught me off guard, bro. I was just looking at her Sailor Moon little thing on her wall, bro. That me and you made us. Oh man, bro. You got the
Just
intense
listening
gaze.
to the info.
Yeah.
Just hearing all the good info.
Yeah, there's a lot more coming. Kate, you should stop me now, because otherwise I'll monologue for a straight hour, and that's it.
Yeah, I think we're out of time, but thank you, Chris, Zach, and Ray, all for joining today.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.